Cigar Talk, the fastest growing cigar show in the nation. Whether you're a new cigar enthusiast or a cigar aficionado, we have something for everyone, bringing you the best interviews, cigar reviews, and weekly giveaways. So grab yourself a cigar.
It's time to light them up.
Hey guys, welcome back to Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones. I have our co-host here today, Bryant Falconer. How you doing, Bryant?
Hey man, I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Hey man, we're glad you're with us. So first, let's start off the show with what you smoking today.
Smoking a Villager 125.
Nice. You know, what was really cool about, a few weeks ago, I'll tell you what, I love these guys, Villager, just out of the kindness of their heart, no expectations whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They send me some cigars and a fifth of orange liqueur and some dark chocolate, and just to say, hey man, we appreciate the job you're doing, and no expectations. That was a big surprise, because usually when people send you something, they want you to do a review or whatever. Yeah. They didn't ask for none of that. So
that's a great companion.
I love
too. Orange liqueur and chocolate.
Oh dude, it was actually, I've never had that before, and I was really shocked at how good it was. But anyway, I'm smoking a Roma Craft. You guys know I'm a huge Roma. It's actually Roma Thursday. We're recording on Thursdays, and I've declared Thursdays as Roma Thursdays.
So I have to deal with it.
Yeah. So, I'm smoking a Cro-Magnon Aquitaine. I've smoked several Roma Craft today, and I'm going to smoke more tonight. So anyway, that's what I'm smoking. We've got a subject today that we want to talk about. It's a little taboo, but what we're going to talk about is to buy or not to buy online cigars.
You see us go Shakespearean there?
Yeah. So anyway, here's the thing. And number one, right off the bat, support your locals.
Always.
Support your brick and mortar.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan, huge supporter of the cigar shop that I go to, and not just the cigar shop that I go to on a regular basis, all cigar shops. If I go to a cigar shop, I don't take my own cigars. I think it's rude. I was talking to a friend out from Arkansas earlier, and we were talking about, hey man, if you're going to a bar, you don't show up with a 6-pack or a fifth. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. You walking into a restaurant, you don't walk in with, like you said, roasted chicken in a purse.
Right. So, and it's funny because I hear some people complaining about, I can't smoke my cigar in here. And it's like, dude, who's paying for these lights? Who's paying for this air conditioning? Who's paying for the furniture you sit on? Respect.
Yes.
And so, and now the flip side to that is, I don't have a problem with people buying online. It's a necessary evil, I would say.
Yes.
For one, you get big discounts on cigars. They don't have the overhead that your brick and mortar shop have, so they can offer better cigar deals. Now, we'll say this: I've bought cigars online, and I'll tell you, a lot of times when you buy cigars online, you better be prepared to put those cigars in a humidor for up to 3 to 6 weeks. Because they are not kept in a humidor ready to go like they should be.
Yeah, especially during shipping. They get that, they're not humid in the shipping. So you have to take care of them.
Right. Well, I've noticed that when you get cigars from online, there's no Bovetta pack in there. They're just shrink wrapped and sent. Mm-hmm. So, but here's the flip side, and this is something that I probably a few months ago I started doing, is I don't necessarily order from like the main guys that most people order online from. I've found either some cigar shops that offer cigars online or actual cigar manufacturers. I'm going to give shout out to Remember Cuba, the guys out of Florida. I've ordered lots of cigars from them. And then also a new one that I found a few weeks after I found Remember Cuba was also out of Florida. And they're called the Miami Bundles. And he also carries Caffey's, I believe it's 1901 cigars, which I haven't ordered any of those yet, but I've really wanted to try some of Dr. Caffey's cigars. I've heard nothing but great things about them. I'm sure you remember when we did a show with Amendola.
Yep.
He's actually partnered up with Caffey, and I hear really good things about Caffey. So I'm definitely going to order some of those as well. But there's a big taboo about if you're at the cigar shop, people's talking about ordering cigars online, they get dirty looks or, whatever it is. First of all, every man for themselves.
And that's correct.
You know what I mean? I mean, you don't know someone's finances. Maybe they can't afford to go buy a box of smokes at the cigar shop. I completely understand that. But the thing about it is, if you're going to smoke at the cigar shop, you got to buy cigars at the shop. That's just respect. Respect for the shop and respect for yourself.
Yeah, because you have to support those that are there for you. You look at your cigar shops it's a business, and you have someone that's putting food on their table. Now, I understand totally what you're talking about with the taboo, because, you get in some of these offset sites where the closest shop may be 200 to 300 miles away.
Right.
So now how are you going to smoke? You have to go online.
Right. That's definitely a huge market that I think is relying on online cigars. And another one is there's certain states that tax so heavily.
Yes.
I mean, I'm paying $8 for a really good Roma Craft. But someone in California or some other states might be paying $15 to $20 for that same cigar.
Yep.
So I say, hey, just in my opinion, everybody has their own, and you're welcome to send me hate mail if you don't like what I'm saying. But I understand when you go to the cigar shop, I'm going to spend $15, hang out with my buddies, enjoy that cigar. But I also understand the guy who buys a bundle or a sampler pack or whatever online that's going to be hanging out at the family barbecue in his backyard, doesn't want to go spend $20 a stick.
Especially when you have family members or friends that come over there that don't smoke.
Right, but they want to
smoke with you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not handing out $20 sticks to guys that don't smoke on a regular basis. I definitely want to have some $2, $3 cigars in my humidor that I can be like, hey, you want a cigar? And they say, yeah. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm, handing out $20 bills.
There's no relationship to be lost there.
Right. So that's a big conversation that we have in the cigar shop. So we just wanted to give our 2 cents on that. And if you want to know more about some of the online places that we do buy cigars, definitely hit us up. I think the 2 that I found in Florida have been really good. Their customer service is great. Their cigars are very good. And so when I want to fill the humidor for cigars that I smoke while mowing the lawn, okay, that's a lie. I don't mow my own lawn. But
no,
if I did mow my own lawn,
he uses my guy that mows my lawn.
No, but like, say if I'm going to go play golf or something,
yes.
I can smoke one of those. I don't care if I smoke it and let it go out, whatever. Yeah. But if I'm the bottom line is, if you're going to the shop, buy cigars at the shop. I definitely spend a lot of time at the shop, so I definitely want to support those guys.
Yes, it's about respect. Like you said, me in the beginning, not knowing about a shop here, it was about online, or whenever I got somewhere else like Austin or Carpus Cove, somewhere in Texas, and I could go to a brick and mortar and buy me a box or 2 so I could take with me and have. But then you have those situations where I'm not getting to those places. Now what am I going to do?
Right.
Online is as quick as possible. Get them, order them, deliver them to the door. As you say, you grab them out of there, put them in the humidor for a little while, let them get humid, ready to smoke, and you go forward from there. But it is a big taboo. You can't bring that conversation up inside of a brick and mortar, because you're going to everyone is going to look at you like, okay, really? You're talking about online in here? But it's a time and a place for everything. And as you said earlier, every man for himself. I have no problem with it, but I do have respect.
Right.
And my respect is when I walk in that house.
Don't twist when I say every man for himself. What I really mean is you don't know what that guy's
person's
walking
situation
through his
is.
Or you want to walk through his shoes before you judge him for buying cigars online.
Most definitely.
So let's shift gears here for a second, and let's look at a friend of mine told me to look this up, and McConnell has introduced a new bill for the entire United States to raise the smoking age, or any tobacco for that matter,
21.
to age 21. And I personally have a problem with this for many different reasons. One is, if you can serve in the military,
thank you.
You should be able to
That's
do
where
whatever
I was going.
You know what I mean? You can if you want to, and I'm even if you want to drink a beer, you should be able to at 18. You can serve. So the other thing is, if you commit a crime at 18 or 19, you're tried as an adult.
Yes.
So how is it that you can't smoke a cigar, but you can serve the military or be considered an adult to serve time or whatever if you're arrested?
It's a mixed up mind state. I can't understand it. Me being a veteran, I was in the military, and like I said, I started smoking cigars in the military. Even though I was 21 when I got in the military, it didn't matter. You know, it was a mindset. You take that away from me. You take that opportunity away from me, even though I've signed a blank check to Uncle Sam to give my life.
Right. So I completely oppose this, and of course, this is going to be me getting on my soapbox as usual. During this time, you couldn't find a better time than to join Cigar Rights of America.
Yes.
Go to our website, www.cigartalkpodcast.com. There's a link on our friends page that will take you to Cigar Rights of America. Sign up. Man, we got to stand up and let these politicians know that we're not going to be going for this. You know, it's not just about smoking. It's about freedom of rights. And as a grown adult, which to me is at 18, I should be able to do what I want to do as long as it doesn't physically or mentally hurt someone else.
And that's what the law should be about. You know, ensuring the safety of the public, but not impinging upon my rights. Not taking something away from me that, you know, me smoking a cigar at 18 years old, what issue is that? What problem could that cause? Who am I harming?
Right. And the FDA has already come out and said that smoking 1 to 2 cigars a day has no impact on your lungs as far as lung cancer. So I don't understand. First of all, we need to take the premium cigar out of the hands of the FDA. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's no comparison from cigars to cigarettes or dip and snuff or whatever. So let's go ahead and get that done. And then I don't even want to see a restriction on cigarettes for the age, because you're either a man or a woman and you have the right to make a choice.
It's a choice.
So,
it's a choice. It is your choice.
So that's enough about my soapbox there, guys. Anyway, on the second half of the show, we're going to be playing our interview with Smokin Brad up in Lubbock, Texas. He's at Good Karma. He took a trip to Honduras to the cigar factory down there, and he's going to tell us all about his trip. So when we come back from the break, we'll be interviewing Brad. And before then, let's talk about our cigar of the week. We're going to change it up a little bit, guys. I'm going to do one. Bryant's going to do one, but we're going to let Bryant start first. So tell us what your cigar of the week is.
As I said, my cigar of the week this week is the CAO Amazon Basin. It's a great stick. It hits your palate, and it allows you to enjoy it the entire way through. I was sitting at the Leaf, what's the day? The day is Thursday. I think it was Monday. And there were 2 gentlemen came in, and they were questioning about new smokes. And I introduced them to the CAO Amazon Basin, and they both bought one. The gentleman sat down there next to me, and we had a good conversation, and all the older gentleman could say was, man, this is a great stick. I said, yeah, you know, it's enjoyable all the way through. A good pull from each one I've had. A great smoke, a lot of smoke, but it's enjoyable. And actually, when I was there, I was drinking a cup of coffee, and I had some of that Warfighter Joe, and that's a great blend with it. It was the comparison. I
haven't had any of that yet.
I got some left.
Nice.
I'll get you some.
Thank
you can have some.
You know, I was telling my wife earlier today, we're getting a coffee pot for the studio.
Not a Keurig, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
no. We're actually going to get
a real coffee pot.
A drip pot. So,
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying
something you sit back and enjoy your cigar with.
So I'll tell you something that I love about that cigar, and if you haven't seen it, it's a beautiful cigar for one. It's got a nice, thick, oily wrapper on it, but it doesn't have a cigar band. It actually has a rope made out of tobacco.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking cigar. It's a great smoke. I enjoy it myself from time to time, but definitely good choice. So the cigar that I'm going to go with is the Camacho. Triple Maduro. Have you had one of these?
Yeah, we smoked one last week.
I can't remember who I smoked what with. Yeah. Anyway, the Triple Maduro is my favorite Camacho. It's a thick wrapper. It's full power, full in your face profile. Strength is like full. You're going to get a lot of nicotine. You get a lot of leather, a lot of earth, a lot of spice. It's just a really great cigar if you're looking for a power punch.
And it has the perfect name, Camacho.
Yeah, it's a really good smoke. And if you haven't had one, I'm going to go ahead and throw out some recommendation. Don't smoke it on an empty stomach.
No.
For most people, it's a late in the day. It's funny because a friend of mine saw me smoking it in the afternoon. He's like, "You're smoking a Triple Maduro this early?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's my second one." So definitely a full body, full power smoke. Check it out. And let's talk about we didn't do the cigar tip of the week last week.
Nope, we didn't.
Yeah, I apologize for that, guy. We ran a little short on time, but let's talk about the cigar tip of the week. This week is about carrying cigars when you're traveling.
Yes.
Brian, go ahead and tell us what you do for traveling.
I travel with a 5-stick Cigar with a Belvita pack in it. I don't take long trips. So while I'm gone, I like to enjoy my smoke. Most of the times when I take a trip either to Austin or somewhere else in Texas, I'm usually in meetings all day long, and then we don't get out till after 5. So you're rushing to go grab you something to eat, and after I eat, I want to go back to the hotel, sit down, grab me a good cup of coffee, and smoke a nice stick. It allows me to carry those 5 sticks for those days, and they're perfect the entire trip.
And the good thing about Cigar, everything they make is lifetime guaranteed.
Lifetime.
And they're not sponsoring us. I wish they would. But I love Cigar, the cutters, the lighters, the travel cases. I mean, anybody who backs up their product with a lifetime guarantee, much respect there.
Yeah, I just bought that.
He bought the Shiny Black XO. Yeah, we seen it. Anyway.
You want it.
My traveling's a little bit different. I mean, whether I'm traveling 2 days or 5 days, I usually pack in the neighborhood of about 18 cigars.
Smoke all day.
Well, I don't get to smoke all day, but one, believe it or not, even if I'm sitting on the patio at the hotel, I like to have a choice, just like if I'm at a cigar shop. And I do smoke a lot of cigars. But anyway, I like to have a big choice. So instead of using a cigar traveler with 3 to 5, 8 cigars, what I do is I take an actual cigar box, and I've got a great Partagas box.
Old school.
Yeah, that I bought a box of Partagas Black. And what I love about the cigar box is it holds 20 cigars. So I can put 15 in there, throw in a couple of Boveda packs, and I've got a travel humidor. And man, I mean, the wooden box, even if you don't buy a box of cigars like the Leaf, a lot of shops will give you one, or you can sell you one for $2 to $5. So to me, it's a cheap way, but even more so than cheap, it's a great way to carry a nice selection of cigars instead of limiting myself to 5 to 8 cigars. And before I started doing that, I actually had a Cigar, and I don't remember a no-name brand, but I was carrying 2. So
travel packs.
and that was a pain in the butt. So, and what I should do is I should put a handle on that Partagas box. That would be perfect, and a little latch so I could lock it. But anyway, let's see, what else were we talking about before we talk to Brad? Let's tell everybody where they can find us on Instagram.
Yes.
We just posted a new picture of the Big Smoke.
Yes, sir.
And check that out. Leave some comments. We really enjoy it when you make fun of him. And so anyway, our Instagram is at cigar_talk_podcast. And then you can go to our website at www.cigartalkpodcast.com. You can register on there. We do send out emails for information on upcoming shows. We also have an email link where you can send us questions. You can recommend that we try different cigars, do reviews. And also, if you know of a really great shop that you would like us to interview and have on the show, we'd love to hear about that.
Yes, travel.
I travel all over. I find a lot of shops, but we have the ability to interview people from all over the nation.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be a place necessarily that I have to go to, but we can do a phone interview. So if you know of a really cool shop and you think the owner might want to do an interview, we'd love to hear about it.
Please drop that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the interview with Brad, I also want to talk about down at the Leaf, we've had an ownership change, and old preacher man Bill has
pastor
tied up, and he's now living the life of luxury on his retirement, which we're happy to see what he's doing.
Yes.
But Jay Patterson is our new owner of the Leaf, and just want to welcome him, man. He's doing a great job. He's got a lot of not so much changes as far as the way we run the shop, but he's got changes as far as like making it more comfortable.
Yes.
He's showed me a bunch of things that he plans on doing furniture wise. We're going to plan on moving the shop before the end of the year, I believe, and he showed me the layout of the new lounge. It's going to be super nice. I think the VIP lounge is going to like triple in size. And so we're looking forward to that. We just can't say thank you enough to Jay and his partner Corey as well.
Yes, Corey.
He's a really great addition to the cigar community here locally.
It's about keeping that community together, and that's what he's doing, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this before, the wonderful community here in Abilene, but it's really all over, because I've talked to guys in New York, Arkansas, Florida, Nebraska, out in California. Some of the places I haven't been to yet, and I really want to go, there is a really awesome cigar shop in Albuquerque. I want to go over there because you know why. It's a huge Roma Craft shop. They've got everything Roma Craft, kind of like the train car, but I understand they even have a bigger selection, which I didn't even think was possible.
Yeah, I visited Albuquerque once and ran up out of there.
Yeah, well, it's a busy place.
Yes, it is.
So
I was trying to beat the snowstorm out of there.
I got you. So anyway, I guess while we're killing time here, let's go ahead and do the Cigar Talk Trivia question of the week. If you go back a few episodes, if you could, now let me qualify this. If you were one of the first 30 people who answered the question correctly through our website, send us an email, you'll go into a drawing. And this week we're going to continue with what we did last week. We're giving out a couple of select draw cutters. They've been gracious enough to send us those to give out to you guys, so we're going to pass those along. So anyway, if you go back a few episodes, we'll talk about, if you remember Jake the Snake Killer, we had him on the show in episode 2. If you could tell me the name of the town he lives in, and you're one of the first 30 people to send us the correct answer, we will put you in that drawing for the select draw cutters. So next week we will have the Warfighter guys on, and the week after that we're going to have Terrence Riley on the show. He's the vice president of the Aganorsa Leaf Tobacco Company, and they make the great Casa Fernandez cigars, which was the cigar of the week last week. So we've got a great lineup coming up to you guys. So let's change gears here. We're looking at doing something, adding something to the show. We want to start doing pairings. And I guess we're going to do it as a team effort, but we're going to bring pairings with bourbon, and we're going to bring pairings with coffee. So I've been doing a little research on some Texas distilleries, and I definitely want to check out one called the Iron Root Republic. They're up in Denison, Texas, and they've got some really good bourbons from what I read. I actually haven't tried one yet, but we'll be checking them out probably first. And then you were talking about some different coffee that you wanted to bring on the show.
Yeah, I paired my Amazon Basin with Warfighter's Joe. And that is the name of the coffee, Joe. It's a blend that Warfighter puts out, and it is an actual coffee that you would think a soldier would drink. It's
Is it real bold?
It's bold. It is bold.
I love bold coffee.
Yes, and I drink my coffee straight black, so you get the full flavor, the full taste.
Yeah,
you
same
get that
here.
pow, that punch that comes with it, and like I said, the pairing of it with that Amazon basin, they were both fighting for my palate the entire time. So it was a great taste, and it comes in a black package, and the only thing on the black package is their emblem, Warfighter emblem, and the word Joe.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that.
Simplified.
So on the interview coming up next, this is Smokin Brad. He's the manager of Good Karma in Lubbock, Texas. And like we were saying earlier, he took a great trip to Honduras and was good enough to sit down and have an interview with us and teach us all the things that he learned while he was over there about the trip, the conditions, the food, the whole process of the tobacco factory. So I hope you hang with us. We'll be right back after the break. Hey guys, thanks for hanging with us through the break. We've got a great interview coming up with Smokin Brad out of Good Karma in Lubbock. He went to Honduras and he's going to share his experience with us. He told me he learned a lot, and he's going to teach us what he learned. And so anyway, let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome back to Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones, and today we're in Lubbock, Texas at Good Karma, where we're going to interview Smokin Brad. He recently went down to Honduras, and I thought we'd get with him and find out all about his trip. So welcome to the show, Brad.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Oh, man, it's our pleasure. So I know you had a great trip.
Oh, I sure did. Got to see things that blew my mind about the way cigars are made and meet some incredible people that are involved in this industry.
So did you fly out of Lubbock?
I did. Flew out of Lubbock to Dallas, Dallas to Miami, and then over to Honduras.
Okay. How long does that whole flight schedule take?
Well, just from Lubbock to Dallas is an hour. It's more of a headache than anything.
Right.
And then flying about 6 hours total flight time, I would think.
That's not bad.
Nah, not too bad.
All right. So you get to Honduras, you get off the plane. Tell us what it's like.
Well, of course, in Honduras, there are quite a few different factories, and at that time, several factories were doing tours, so I had people asking me if I was coming to see Rocky Patel, if I was coming to see Plasencia or what, and then a guy looked at me and said, "You looking for Justo?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And
nice.
Escorted me over to Justo and a group of people that were waiting on me, and I was one of the last two to arrive. So.
Oh, okay. How many people were there on your tour?
There were 8 of us.
8 of you?
And they handed me a cigar,
nice.
Which made me happy after being cooped up in an airplane for a while and dealing with the airport. And we got in trucks and drove 2.5 hours out to the farm.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the countryside like driving the 2.5 hours?
Absolutely beautiful. You know, out here in West Texas, or in Lubbock, Texas especially, our biggest mountains are the overpasses.
Right.
So there's some mountains, some sheer drop-offs, some beautiful valleys, trees.
So you're going to the factory. It's a 2.5 hour ride. When you get there, I mean, does the tour start, or they like put you in your bunkhouse? How's that all work?
Yeah, once we got there, it was mid to late afternoon, you know, around 3, 4 o'clock by the time we got there. So basically, they gave us free time. They showed us our bunkhouse, set up farm ranch style, this bunkhouse, and we each had our own room.
Oh, nice.
Showers, beds, you know, air conditioner.
Really?
Which was nice. And then up the hill from that was the big house where Don Julio's house is.
And he lives right there.
He does. He
nice.
lives part-time in Miami, but really he's more 90% in Honduras and 10% but in Miami. So anyway, we get there and they show us to the patio behind the house.
Okay.
Lots of tables, chairs, ashtrays. They had a nice cigar bar with a selection of their cigars for us to try and taste. Cooked a home-cooked meal for us, Honduran style.
Really? What'd you have?
Well, the first night we had a tortilla soup that they made that was amazing. Very different than our Texas tortilla soup or any kind that I'd had in Mexico, but still called a tortilla soup, and it was just absolutely wonderful. We had that with some fried plantains and some beans, of course. It was just an amazing dinner. And then homemade flan after that.
Now, what is that?
Flan is a traditional dessert dish that's made in all Latin countries. It's kind of a curdy kind of cheesecake. It's a little more moist than a cheesecake, I guess you could say. Yeah.
A little more, not liquefied, but not as set.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So then you're sitting down on the patio, you're eating, now you're smoking, drinking.
Yep.
And what are we drinking?
The first night I was having a little bit of Johnny Walker Gold.
All right.
With a good Aladino Maduro cigar. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I haven't had a lot of the Aladinos, but every time I've had one, they've been really, really good.
Man, having seen their process, now I understand why I've never really run across that inconsistency in construction. They draw test every single cigar.
Really?
And that's after it goes through all of the processes that we'll talk about that just amazed me. You know, coming back from there, I'll never complain about the cost of a cigar again.
I mean, it's amazing that they don't cost more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It really.
So then you hang out, you go to bed, you wake up the next day. Tell us about how that was.
Well, they cooked us a home-style Honduran breakfast right there in the big house. Eggs, of course.
They got chickens?
Honduran style. Yeah, they do have chickens.
So they make their own eggs?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well, Don Julio loves animals, and there's wild rabbits, wild deer, chickens. He has about 2,000 guinea fowl.
Really?
Yeah. And quail running all around the farm. So,
now, is quail native there, or did he bring those in?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I just know he was interested in them, so he brought them in, and it ended up having many, many of them.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So after breakfast, what's the tour like? I mean, y'all load up in trucks, or is it walking distance?
We did. We loaded up in trucks and drove out to the fields.
Okay.
Out near the fields, and they did a really great job. They took us first to the greenhouses, where they start the tobacco plants from seed.
Really?
Just like your mom used to do when she was planting a garden, starting the seeds in the little peat dishes that held 24 or 48 different plants. They plant seed in there, and about 5 or 6 plants will come up, and they pick the best looking, strongest one. And then it goes into another greenhouse where they actually cut the plant once it gets up to about 8 or 9 inches, and that causes the root to struggle and stretch out.
So they cut the top off.
They cut the top off, and then they let it start growing again, let that root get stronger, and then they take it and put it in the ground.
Wow, that's crazy. Because I just thought that, they were out in the field throwing seeds everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's definitely not that way there.
How many seedling plants would you say was in the greenhouse that you were at? I mean, just thousands?
They had just, they had really already put them in the field, so we only got to see what they had left for us. And even there, I would say there was at least 1,000 plants on the one table that we got to see.
That's a process.
Really, really is, because once they take it from there, then they go out to the field, and they have a tractor. Of course, they have plowed these fields and have rows, which we're familiar with, seeing rows out here in West Texas. And some of the farmers will be aware they have a tractor that pulls a device that has like 4 seats on it, where they drop these seedlings in, and it actually plants them in the ground.
So they're doing that by hand?
They're doing that by hand. So they pull these. They have the trays behind them, and they set the little seedlings into this thing, and it shoots down and plants them at a regular interval in the field. So the fields are just beautiful.
And I've heard the soil is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Not like what we're used to out here with the red dirt.
Yeah, well, and it was really interesting as we drove around the farm to see the differences in the soil. In some areas it was a grayer type soil, some it was a deeper red, some it was brown. And I asked Don Julio about it, and he said, it's just the way the ground is.
Did they teach you like what parts of the plant is used for different parts of the cigar?
I'll tell you what, they really did, and I learned more once we left the fields and went into the aging or drying rooms or barns, because they track every leaf of that plant that's harvested through the final process when it gets rolled. So they know what field it came from. They know whether it was the first priming, the bottom 2 leaves of the plant, or whether it was the corona, the top 2 leaves, which is where you get your ligero. It gets the most sun. It's also the youngest leaf, so you get all that great flavor from it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And they track it all the way through.
So the youngest leaf is at the top?
Yeah, and it gets
I guess
all
that makes
sun.
sense.
Yeah, because as the plant grows, it comes up above the leaves below, and it's springs new leaves.
That's cool, man. So you saw the aging room. How was that?
Man, those barns were amazing. And, of course, they had a bunch of them. And the amazing part was to me, at that point is when you can really tell the difference. So we went into aging barns with Corojo leaf. We went into aging barns with Cameroon leaf, and you can just smell the difference in the tobacco.
Really?
Yeah, and it's sitting there, and it's temperature controlled as much as they can. Big old huge barn, well insulated. Actually, it has roofing material around the sides to help insulate, and then it has these big fans that blow air through a sock, like not a big plastic sock or something.
Almost like a windsock.
Yeah, a windsock, and it just keeps air circulating in there at a low volume to keep that whole barn at the same kind of ambient temperature. And then they actually have heaters in the floor. And in all of these barns, they have a dirt floor. So when they feel like the leaves are getting too dry too fast, they'll go in there and wet the floor manually.
Really?
Yeah, to create more humidity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and hearing these guys talk about it, man, Don Julio and Justo themselves are so passionate about the plant itself, about the process of farming, and they're passionate about the cigar that they get to create from this plant. But they talked about listening and talking to the leaves, listening and talking to the plants. Yeah. This broadleaf crop is one of the first successful ones they've done. Don Julio talks about him like a person because he had just finished harvesting the Cameroon leaf. And he called it, we've tried this 4 different times, and he doesn't want to get along. But this time he and I made friends, and he created a good crop, and
wow.
It's so funny the way they talk about the plant like it's a person.
Like it's his child.
Yeah, it really is. And so being able to smell those differences in those aging rooms from one tobacco to the next.
And you could definitely see it. You could definitely smell a different.
Oh, yeah. You really can.
Wow.
A different personality. Those flavor notes we get out of a cigar, whether it's more caramely sweetnesses, whether it's more floral, whether it's a more nutmeg baking spice or peppery type spice, those notes are there in the nose.
Really?
When you're smelling those as they're aging, and especially when they get into the Pilon stage.
I guess when you're in that fresh of an environment and you can smell those different flavor profiles, that helps when it comes to someone who's blending them because they can tell what's going to be like what. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know the details of it by any means. These guys have years and years in the business, but they can tell something just burning one of those leaves that's dried. Okay, this is what I'm looking for,
Wow. So they'll actually light one of the leaves on fire to see what the aroma is?
Mm-hmm. They will.
Wow.
And there are different things that affect that flavor too, whether it's the climate of that year, something different in the soil, the water. So many things affect that end personality of that leaf when it's
almost like
cigar.
The wine business.
Yeah.
The climate, the weather, the season.
It's
all goes into the cigar.
And I think we even notice it like in some of the lines like Viaje that does these yearly releases of a similar or same blend. But sometimes you'll notice, man, this year was better than the last 2. For some reason, something happened in that process that just made it a little better or maybe not as good.
Right.
You can never tell.
So you've gone through the aging barn. So where do you go to next?
Now those leaves, so they sit in the aging barn and they're hung off of these eucalyptus tree trunks that have been dried and everything because they plant eucalyptus trees all around the fields.
I was going to say, because eucalyptus trees don't grow in Honduras,
well,
right?
they do at Don Julio's farm because he said this will be a great windbreak. And he also has 4 koala bears out there in his eucalyptus forest. But it's a green way that he can reuse those because they grow about a foot a month in their prime.
No
and
kidding.
He uses those trunks, and they get about 4 to 8 inches big around. And he actually hangs those up in the barn, and that's what he hangs the tobacco leaves from.
So you're hanging tobacco leaves on eucalyptus trees.
Mm-hmm.
And he has koala bears.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, he just thought, I bet this will grow here and it'll work as a good windbreak for my fields so it doesn't damage the leaves when it's blowing. Usually there's about the size of a country dirt road separating them because they drive around them.
Oh, okay.
And to harvest and stuff like that. Yep.
So,
and on the more windy side, sometimes they actually build windbreaks with tarps and stuff like that.
oh, really? Does it get pretty windy there?
In some places, yep.
I guess they get probably like tropical storms and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not like West Texas wind, but these leaves, again, as we talk, the size of the leaves, they can really move with some wind, and when they're rubbing against each other, they damage, and they want to minimize that as much as they can.
Oh, okay.
Which brings us to the next part. We were talking about they take them down out of the aging rooms. We had the privilege of watching them bring the Cameroon leaves out of the aging room, and it went immediately to the sorting room. So in the sorting room, they got multiple people, dozens of people sorting these leaves. Now, again, they're tracked by what field, whether it was the bottom to the first priming, second priming, third priming, up through the seventh priming.
So there's 7 different primings in the
It
plant.
can be, depending, up to 7 different primings to the corona. Now, they're sorting these leaves, again, within their primings and their field, but by size and quality, and whether it's binder, filler, or wrapper quality.
Oh, okay.
So it's an intensive process. They're actually looking at these leaves by hand, seeing the size and the quality of them, and separating them into piles. And then those are bound together, still tracked.
They're going through tens of thousands of leaves.
They really, really are.
That's crazy.
One of the things I really liked is they keep their sorting room. They have kind of like we have here in our humidor, humidification units. So they keep that sorting room really humid, which cuts down on the damage to the leaf. As they're handling them, it feels like silk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it doesn't dry out at all.
And the drier that leaf is, shoot, I can't pick up a leaf without breaking it. I
Right.
can't imagine the delicacy they use to handle these leaves as they're sorting them.
That's awesome. So now that's the room where they sort. Where does it go to next?
It goes to the magic place. It
The
goes to the
magic place.
pilones.
All right.
That's where the magic happens.
And what's the pilone?
The pilone, they take and they pile these leaves in about 4 by 4 by about 3 stacks.
So they're 4 by 4 in width.
Just width and
but
about
then
3
height,
feet tall.
3 feet tall.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they wrap it in burlap.
What does that do?
Well, that's, some tobacco people call it a fermenting process. The Aroa family really doesn't. Jerry tobacco, they call it the aging process still.
Okay.
But that leaf is going through a transformation at that point. I actually missed one point. They take them to the hot rooms where they're aging the ammonia out of the leaf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
And because if you don't do that long enough, then you get that ammonia smell when you retrohale.
Yeah, a lot of people
cigars.
don't realize the sheer volume of work it takes to get that tobacco to a point where we can enjoy it in a great cigar.
Well, just what you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about planting the seeds, planting the seedlings, harvesting the crop, plowing the fields, taking it to the sorting room, the hanging room, the ammonia off room. I mean, that's hundreds of people.
Yeah, already. I mean, they say every cigar you've touched has gone through at least 200 hands. It may be more than that, or maybe multiple times with some of the same people, just to get that leaf ready to roll. So, once it's gone through the process where they get the ammonia out of it, they have to keep the temperature high enough so that ammonia doesn't settle back down. It goes out. Then it's in the pilone. And man, so those leaves are aging some more and they're stacked up, and they actually can create enough heat to where that pilone will catch fire. So
Really?
they have to restack these pilones periodically, and I'm not sure the time it stays in the pilone stage, but it's just magical, the smell from that leaf.
And is it warm in there?
Oh yeah, it's warm. They try not to keep it too warm, but it's ambient basic temperature, but still kind of temperature controlled. They're very conscientious about contamination. We had to dip our feet in these things as we walked in. We sprayed our hands and things
Really?
like that. Oh yeah, people are very they're very conscientious about not contaminating any of the product from seedling to finish, even still. So in the pilone, it can literally spontaneously catch fire and burn. So they have to restack it periodically, which was a neat process to see. and smell, because as they're
I bet
moving
you
these,
just really fresh smelling, isn't
oh
it?
yeah, it's amazing. And one of the neat things that we got to have at this stage, they took this Cameroon that was in the Palone stage, and they pulled out a wrapper quality leaf. And I was smoking a Connecticut Aladino cigar, which is actually fixing to be released next month. We'll have them available. It's a wonderful Connecticut from JRE. But I was smoking one, and one of their guys, Luis, took one of those leaves and wrapped it around my Connecticut cigar so that I could taste the major flavor change from Connecticut to that Cameroon. That Palone stage is where it goes to another stage. Then it goes to where they take the big stem off. It's all separated, and they put it into basically bales.
Okay.
So they got these guys that work in there, and they've got two machines that actually press the leaf down into a form.
Like a square bale?
Yeah, it's a rectangular kind of a bale maker.
Okay.
And it presses it down, and then they pull the wooden rectangles, and they've already got the cloth that they wrap these bales in laid down, and they actually hand sew this cloth around this bale. And they weigh each bale and subtract the weight of the cloth wrapper. So then they mark on that bale how much it weighs, what field it came from, what date it came from, what priming it was.
So they know like the density of that tobacco based on the weight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So after the freezer, where do the cigars go next?
So that's when they go into these rooms I told you about, where they're sitting there and they're letting that cigar kind of settle and marry and get ready to be placed in the boxes. And I don't know what time they decide when they're ready to do that. Don Julio, the patriarch of the Aroa family, he's such an incredible man. He came over from Cuba a little over 60 years ago. As a young man, came to the United States, actually ended up serving in the military.
Wow.
Became a pilot. Then he went to work for the Oliva family that grows tobacco, not the Oliva cigar family, the Oliva growing family, and became a mil usos, which means he could basically do anything on the farm. And after that is when he bought land in Honduras. And actually, a lot of people don't realize that Don Julio Aroa founded, along with three other men, the Camacho Cigar Company.
Oh,
and
really?
Later sold to Davidoff in around 2014.
Okay.
And he thought he was going to retire at that time. But him and his oldest son, Justo, were talking about it and said, you know what, we just haven't done what we need to do yet. And one of the things I love about this family is not just Don Julio's passion for the whole process, the leaf, the cigar, the plant, everything, but I really love Justo's passion to really create his father's legacy, because Don Julio's been involved in cigars from every aspect.
And about how old is he?
He's 82 years old.
Wow.
This is a man that instantly became my hero, because I've always kind of thought him heroic, just what he accomplished coming out of Cuba, building this great basic cigar heritage. But when I met him, he's in a wheelchair. 40 years ago, he had a plane crash in Honduras and ended up being partially paraplegic. That's two, right? For the rest of his life.
Okay.
And taught himself how to walk with two canes. Now, I can't imagine walking around the cotton fields of West Texas using two canes.
No kidding.
But this man did it in the outbacks of Honduras in tobacco fields.
Wow.
And has done it for the last 40 years. But now he's got some of those three-wheel rascals. He's got some all-terrain tires on them. He drives around his farm on one of those.
Oh, nice.
And he's got one with smooth tires for the factory floors. And this at 82.
So at 82 and paralyzed, he's still hands-on.
Hands-on every day. He smokes probably 5-6 cigars before 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, again, like we talked about, he's testing cigars constantly. And he was so interesting to talk to, because now he smokes only maybe 1 inch to 2 inches of each of those cigars, because he's just testing. He can tell the distinctions between from month to month or week to week on how that tobacco has changed or married and come together. And one of the things he said, so many people write reviews about cigars and talk about all these flavors. I don't get any of that. Those people know too much. All I know is either I like it or I don't like it. And
that's me.
Yeah, and he says, if I don't like it, you'll never see it. And I respect that so much.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you're winding down the tour?
Yeah.
So how many days were you there?
There 4 days, actually 3 active,
Right.
Yeah.
And so what was the activities like at night?
In late afternoon, they kind of called it quits, and we did what we were there for, to enjoy the cigar culture together. They had an open cigar bar for all of JRE's cigars available to us to enjoy together and talk about. That's heaven to me.
Yeah, that's just heaven.
Also, they had an open bar and this beautiful covered patio next to a swimming pool. I don't think any of us swam while we were there. We were having too much fun drinking some good, pairing some good bourbons and whiskeys with some great cigars.
Man, that sounds like just heaven to me. I want to go.
Now, one of my other favorite things that we did, we actually went and took a horseback ride around the fields.
Oh, wow.
While smoking a cigar. As a West Texas boy wearing cowboy boots, I just couldn't think of anything more fun.
Now, where were some of the other guests from?
We had people from New York. Most of the guests on this tour were from Texas. Had some guys from Industry Cigars and Blue Smoke up in the Metroplex area.
Okay.
And then had a guy from Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
And some from New York.
So you made a bunch of new friends while you were out there.
Bunch of great new friends. That's what I love about this culture, man.
Yeah, you make friends wherever you are because you have that in common.
You really do.
It's that bond that binds us all together.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I was there with guys in the cigar industry, but here in our shop, I've got people from all walks of life, from law enforcement to ministry to medical to mechanics. And it's amazing the conversations we get to hear and hear.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you just go in, you never know what the conversation's going to be about. And when it's all done and said, you've learned something and you've made great friends.
I learn more every day just listening to my customers have conversations about stuff I'll never see.
Well, and I also want to share this, and I don't know if you knew this, but actually my love for cigars started right here in your shop. At Good Karma in Lubbock, Texas. I had been dabbling with cigars for several months, and it wasn't a big deal to me though. It's just something that you do as a hobby, or really just whenever I'd get together with a good friend. But the cigar really never did anything special for me, And I came by Good Karma, and one of the tobacconists that work here actually took time with me to help me find a cigar that was suited for me. And I don't remember which one it was specifically, but it was a Christoph.
Yeah.
And man, I remember probably halfway into it, I was just like overcome because I'd smoking several cigars, but that one spoke to me. You know what I mean? And from that point forward, I was hooked. And it's been a great ride ever since.
Well, my job is to sell cigars, but I want to sell the experience more than anything. And I really work hard to listen to people when they come in here, because they have flavor things that they want to see. They have sizes. I mean, everything about the cigar lends itself to the experience. And really, the biggest part about it, I actually say something all the time. A good cigar meets you where you are, and most times over a good conversation, it'll help you along the road you want to walk.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's my job, really, more than just selling cigars, is helping people meet the cigar they like. Because the first time you taste a great cigar, it's like a first kiss.
Yes, it is.
You
never forget it.
You never forget it, and you always go back to it and remember that. And sometimes it's not even the cigar; it may be what you're doing at the time you share that cigar with the right person.
Oh, yeah.
Just a great conversation where you happen to be.
The best cigars are experiences.
Certainly.
I mean, I tell everyone, and people have heard this before, but my favorite cigar that I've ever had, I have no idea what it was, but I was sitting on the front porch with my dad before he passed, and I'll just never forget that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a special moment for me. Hey, man, well, we appreciate you coming on the show and telling us about your trip. I can't wait to do that myself.
Yeah.
And as always, man, we appreciate everything that you're doing on Instagram. You're always showing cool stuff and talking with us, so we appreciate your involvement in the community as well.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate your podcast. I learned a lot about cigars and the people who love them, so I appreciate that.
That's what we're here for, man, so we appreciate it. Thank you again.
You bet.
hey, we just want to say thanks for Brad telling us about his story going to Honduras. And I definitely learned a lot. I hope you did as well. I hope someday that I can head down to Nicaragua or Honduras or the Dominican Republic to take a factory tour as well. Let's talk to Bryant and find out what we're going to be doing next weekend.
Next week, we have the Warfighters here. Scott and John came up from San Antonio and visited us here in Abilene. They hung out with us at the Leaf and gave us a great interview. These are two Army vets that got a great company called Warfighter.
Yeah, and I really like their cigars, and I really like what they're doing. They had a great story. They served together in the military, and then later on, after they got out, they decided to start their own cigar company. But they support Cigars for Warriors. You can check out our website, and there's a link to that as well. Love giving cigars to our servicemen and women. And then also, if you guys haven't been to our webpage or our Instagram, you can go to our Instagram page. That's where we post a lot of pictures of what's been going on, what we're smoking. Definitely do some videos of some different cigar shops that we've been to. You can find our Instagram page at cigar_talk_podcast. And then if you want to swing by our webpage, you can register. We send out emails about what's going on. And then also you can contact us and ask questions or give us recommendations at www.cigartalkpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send us some cigars that you'd like us to review. We love reviewing cigars, and also your cigar might make it to Cigar of the Week. So definitely hang in there. We appreciate it. Have a great week. Stay smoky.
Yeah.